Good afternoon, family. Welcome. We have a very special afternoon in store for you. We have a lot of creative talent here in the city of Atlanta, and today's afternoon's celebration of music and arts is hosted by Clarice Polk. Let's give it up for Clarice. Yes. A legend here in Atlanta for her musicality and her vision for the arts in the sacred setting. So without further ado, please welcome Tony Lawrence to tell you who we have in front of you today performing in the chamber ensemble setting. Tony, welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be here. To my right, we have Marilyn McAllister on flute. I'm clarinet. We have Cindy Holt, she's violin. We have Diane Patterson, she's viola. And then we have Velma Alexander on French horn. Thank you.
Thank you. 1, 2, 2. Now a little Bach. chamber ensemble. Clarice Hawk and the chamber ensemble. Right behind you. So much, Clarice. Please welcome to the stage Scott and Rachel.
Oh, we're next. Or the
They are next. The dancers. This is Clarice has provided us so much talent this afternoon. No? Oh, it's Reverend David. Okay. Well, Shanna's looking at me like, what? So that is.
They can get ready.
Okay, very good.
The one and only Clarice Polk. Let's give her some love. We're going to do two more things before we get the next piece from you. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. I'm David Alexander, the spiritual director here. My pronouns are he and his. I'm delighted to welcome you into this space. Let's give some more love to our Spirit and Truth Sanctuary family that are joining us today. Thank you so much. It's an honor to have you here. We want to welcome everybody watching online and at home. We're continuing our Sacred Boldness series today. We'll do our affirmation here in just a minute. If you're here for the first time or visiting, just let one of our greeters and ushers know. We'll be happy to get you some information about our community. Everything is available online at SLCA.com, and we invite you to check that out. We're part of a global community called Centers for Spiritual Living that has been teaching the New Thought and Ancient Wisdom message for over 100 years now. So we're very grateful to be a member community of that great organization and to broadcast that message here in Atlanta for over 45 years now. We're coming up on our 45th anniversary in the fall. So wonderful, wonderful to celebrate that. All right, let's do our affirmation today, and then we'll hear some announcements, and then we'll have some more of our creative arts ministry. So for this Sacred Boldness series, our affirmation is this: today I embrace sacred boldness. Courageously, I step outside of my comfort zone, knowing that the creative power of the universe propels me into right action. I proclaim my right to love, peace, and prosperity, and I proclaim my capacity to achieve it. Boldness is my ally as I step forward today. Let's take a deep breath, and let's say it together. Today, I embrace sacred boldness. Courageously, I step outside of my comfort zone, knowing that the creative intent of the universe propels me into right action. I proclaim my right to love, peace, and prosperity, and I proclaim my capacity to achieve it. Boldness is my ally as I step forward today. And so it is, and so we are, and so we let it be. Welcome again. We're glad that you're here. Jamel Morris will give us some more announcements.
We are delighted to be here again with your wonderful pastor and Penelope.
We're going to have announcements first.
I'm so sorry.
That's
We're
all
gonna-
right.
We're
You're
going to
right.
have some announcements.
All right. We can't wait to get back to you, too. It's all right. It's all good.
Welcome, everyone. I want to say thank you for some beautiful pieces. Oh, my gosh. Wonderful work. You took me away. Hello, my name is Jamel Morris. I serve on the creative arts team here at SLCA. I'm just glad to be here. We have so many great opportunities to connect, grow, serve, and give here at SLCA. For more information about today's announcements and other opportunities, please scan the QR codes found on your monitor. Did you know that Reverend Dr. David Alexander's book, Freedom from Discord, is available right now on Amazon Prime? Order your copy today, and join us for SLCA's Summer Book Study. Let's celebrate together on this Thursday, June 13th, 6:30 p.m. in the social hall on Zoom as well for the Freedom from Discord lunch party. Join Reverend David and Pulitzer Prize winner Jericho Brown for an insightful conversation. We will also have food, fellowship to kick off the summer book study. Join us and find the perfect group to enjoy this life-changing piece of work. Ian Folker is looking forward to seeing you today during the 5 o'clock hour as he guides us through the power of scripting. Ian wants us to know, let's give him some hand claps. Yes, for scripting. Ian wants us to know, all of you, to know that we can create the life we desire through the power of you and your divine purpose. You deserve the world and beyond. So be there 5 o'clock after you stuff your face a little bit. Are you curious at all about certain spiritual practices or content, but have few opportunities to discuss it with like-minded people? Next Sunday, during the 5 o'clock hour, we will continue a monthly discussion group exploring topics that may be hard to discuss with your friends and family. So please, SLCA's practitioner, Tony Jenkins, is ready to answer any questions. Join us and let's talk about it. As our community grows, we are looking for those willing to volunteer, the big V. We need ya. Please consider donating one Sunday a month and serve on one of our many SLCA teams. We are specifically looking for those to join our hospitality team. Please speak with Shannon after service to find the perfect way that you can serve. Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to visiting you after service in the social hall for food and fellowship. Remember, you belong. Thank you.
was saying. Oh, we're so happy to be here. This place has a beautiful spirit. I love to go where there's a good spirit and sweet, happy people, and your wonderful pastor and Penelope, and all of you are delightful. So we love to come and to bring and share with you what the Lord has let us do for 63, almost 64 years now in Atlanta in the arts, and I love it. And before I introduce our dancers, I want to say I am writing a book, and I'm trying to find the title for it. And my son is preaching, "Is It Working for Me?" And I said, "Could I have that title?" He said, "Yeah, Mama, I was going to write a book, but you can have it. You're older than me, so you can have it." But anyway, I'm thinking of now doing a crazy title called Crescendos of the Heart. And I've been asking people, do you have any idea what I'm talking about? Well, how many of you remember Robert Shaw, the great conductor of the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra and Chorus? We were so honored to have him in our city for so long and did such a beautiful job, won so many Grammy Awards. Anyway, he said, he was such a perfectionist. And he said, if you know every note, if you rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed, you know every dynamic. Everybody's in unison, everybody's in unity, everybody's playing where they're supposed to, at the volume they're supposed to, at the time they're supposed to. He said, it's still not good enough if it's not touched by the Spirit. And he said, when it's touched by the Spirit, you have a crescendo moment. So I'm thinking about doing a book on crescendo moments. And I'm starting with Handel, the moment that he wrote the Hallelujah Chorus. So anyway, y'all pray for me. This is kind of new. Okay, I'm delighted to have Scott Palmer, and he's going to introduce our friend Rachel, two fabulous dancers. Scott's been with us probably in 100 productions for 30 or more years, and he says to me, I'm too old to play Jesus anymore. But I don't think so.
Okay, everyone. Hello, this is my partner, Rachel. And we're just delighted to be here. And this is Pia Jesu. I've performed this forever, all my life, and Rachel has agreed to do it with me, and it just worked out perfectly. So hope you enjoy it, and thank you for letting us do it for you.
my goodness. How exquisite is that? Absolutely so exquisite. So, I have one more. Open your mind, unfold your heart, relax your senses, feel every part. You ain't got a thing to fear, looks like love's growing here. So take your guard and let it down, go deeper still until you come unwound, unbound. Breathe every breath, release your cringe. Love without waiting, slowly unhinge. You ain't got a thing to fear, it looks like love is growing here. So take your guard and let it down, go deeper still until you come unwound, unbound.
Just know this with me. There is one God, one source, one power, a oneness from what everything comes from. Beauty, grace, dance, music, life in general. All living things reflect the oneness of the one. And I am one with that one, just as each one of us is one with the one and with each other. So there is unity, there is peace, there is joy, there is love, there is harmony, all reflections of the oneness. And knowing that, I walk through life boldly, sacred and otherwise, but knowing that there is only one, and that one works in, as, and through me. I have no fear, I have no doubt. I know that this power fuels me, and it all shows up perfectly on time, in the way that it is supposed to, because I allow the divine to have its way with me. I allow the divine to guide me, and I trust, knowing that it is perfect, it is never late, it is not a coincidence, it is not an accident. And so I can be very, very thankful in life. Thankful for life itself. Thankful for all that I have been given, for all that I have, for all that I'm able to share, for all that is waiting for me to grow into, and to just be unbound, to be without fear, without boundaries, and without borders, and without a box, to just be. I give thanks for that. I give thanks for this teaching. I give thanks for this center. I give thanks for all that we are doing in the world, all of the ways in which each one of us is growing. All you can do is be yourself. Just be. And I release these words knowing that the work continues, and that I belong, and that I am a part of the work. And if you agree, or if this resonates for you, just join me. And together we affirm, and so it is. Thank you.
you look inside your heart, love's already who you are. So lift up your voice, let it be heard. Tell me your story. Don't leave out a word. Thank you. 'Cause I think I have been there too. I'm a seeker just like you. You ain't got a thing to fear. Looks like love is growing here. So take your guard down. Go deeper to see. Amen. Yeah, man. Bringing me through. Woo! Yeah. Yeah. It's real. You know, David always encourages us, you're feeling it, feel it, man, and don't go away from it. Just an honor to be here celebrating community. Really, Clarice Polk has just said, I love this community. I want to bring some music to you. So give it up once again. They're tithing their talents. Yeah, man. So beautiful. And she has stretched me. She gave me a beast to work on. I'm good, Clarice. Hold on now. Let me get my bearings. We're going to make this instrument sound like a B3 organ. Let's do it. Wow. You know, something you sing every Sunday, and you just feel it some days more than others. I'm just really so honored also that David's book is just so beautiful. I got my copy, and I cracked it open, and it's just, it lets me know you at a deeper level. It's just such a beautiful piece of work. Get Reverend David Alexander and his new book. Make sure you get that book. Yeah. All right. Clarice Park. Yes, 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 yes. Thank you so much, Clarice. Not bad for a jazz musician, I'm just saying.
Yes, how about that? Come on now, give up some more love for Clarice. And once again, to all of our friends from Spirit and Truth Sanctuary, would you just wave your hands? Let us know where you are in the sanctuary this morning, this afternoon. Thank you so much. So grateful that you're here. Take a deep breath. So we move into this time of connection and sacred boldness. I'm delighted to be bringing you this second part of this series. Our principles today are mostly the same. I changed it up just a little bit for us today because we're talking about the second part. Last week we were talking about anchoring in and the practice of meditation. Today we're still talking about the spiritual principle of connection, the spiritual law of correspondence, which is, as I said last week, not about writing pen pal letters, but the correspondence of above and below, as above, so below. And so the design of the divine that is imprinted upon us and the correspondence of our consciousness, right? As we imprint ourselves into a divine pattern, then that which is already done in that pattern in the realm of spirit is able to be made manifest within us and in our experience because we've made the space that matches. Does that make sense? It's the law of correspondence, and there's a lot more to say about that. And then today, this week, the spiritual practice is passion, and haven't we already seen that here this morning? Passion, because we're talking about finding the fire, and what Ernest Holmes calls the fire in the belly, passion for that sacred boldness. So let me go back. I want to go back to the quote that we used last week. I don't think I put the slide up again. Maybe I did. Oh, I did. Look at that. I'm so smart. So this is kind of our anchoring for this series from W.H. Murray. He says, until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans, that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. The quote continues, he says, all sorts of things occur to help the one that would never have otherwise occurred. A whole stream of events issue from that decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidences and meetings and material assistance which no one could have dreamt would have come their way. I have learned deep respect for this universal truth. Whatever you can do or can dream, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. And so last week we talked about anchoring into that boldness, finding the courage and the strength to operate the conviction, and that conviction comes out of the spiritual practice of meditation. That if we want more conviction, it's not about just going out into the world and acting boldly on something. It's actually about beginning in the stillness into a deep, deep practice of contemplation and awareness of the divine pattern of perfection that is your divine birthright, and getting so anchored in that it just bubbles out. We talked about the story of Ezekiel and the water coming out of the temple, out of the east door, the place of new beginnings, and that it went from a trickle to a river to a flood, right? And that movement of spirit into the dry place, into the desert, that beautiful metaphor that we find in the scripture. And so today we're looking at passion. How do we now take this conviction that we've cultivated through the art and practice of meditation and add to it this element of passion? I don't know if you've noticed, but for me, I've had an observation, and maybe it's been influenced by some of my travels lately, but I think that sometimes life is kind of like this metaphor of riding the subway system. Now, we don't have a big subway system here, but if you've been to New York or you've been to London where people depend on it every day and it's, intricate and everywhere, then, you'll observe some things about that, right? That there are people who are on the subway, and you can usually tell who they are because they've got their baggage with them, their luggage, their backpacks, and their suitcases and things, and they're on their way to a trip, and you can see the excitement and the joy and the anticipation in their face, and maybe even a little, anticipation and antsiness. They're watching their phone or their watch to make sure that they're going to get to the airport stop at the right time or wherever it is. Or maybe they're coming into the city from the airport and they're excited to get to their destination. Other people coming home from a trip and they look a little different, right? A little worn out, a little tired, leaning on each other, and they're just like, okay, we're done with it, right? And then in the midst of all of that, right, and that's my experience with subways, right, because I don't live in a city with a big subway system, so if I'm on a subway, I'm usually, on a trip somewhere to enjoy something or coming home from a trip, using that as part of the airport experience or whatever it may be. But there are people, if you've done this before, you'll notice that there are people who are just going about their day, and they're on there and they're going to work. And they're starting their shift or getting off of their shift, and it's the same thing they do every day at this time of the day, and they don't really have any patience or interest in your excitement about your trip or your luggage that's in their way or anything else, because they are just in the pattern of their routine that is the same thing, and so they're just there, and maybe they're reading a book, or maybe they have their headphones in, or they're just minding their own business. There are other people who maybe live in the city or perhaps are visiting, but they're clearly on their way to something, right? They're dressed a little bit differently. Maybe they've got, they got something on. Every city I've been in, I've been like, okay, well, what's happening there? Because there's a whole group of people, right? Got some sequence thing on or some whatever. So they're on their way to a music festival or a concert or this or that. And I've seen people dressed up in tuxedos and, all manner of different things, right? So they're on their way to somewhere. Or maybe they're coming home. Or sporting event. You see people, all dressed up, where the Braves or the Falcons or the this or the that. And so they're on their way to a sporting event. What is the difference between all of these things? Right? That this experience of life that can sometimes be intimidating and exciting and boring and smelly and unnerving, right? The difference between those going on a trip versus coming home, or those going to work or going to an event. And the difference is passion and purpose and where those things intersect, if they intersect at all, right? What is the purpose of the trip, and where does that intersect with our passion? And sometimes as I said, sometimes there's no passion, and sometimes there might be a lot because we're really excited about what we're doing. And so all of that is kind of this metaphor that I have for like life itself. If you noticed, we're looking at, okay, that's what it's like riding a subway, but that's actually also what it's like in your everyday life, in our everyday lives. Where are we going? What's our purpose? How does that intersect with our passion? And are we just there for the ride, doing the same thing we've always done, kind of rote, or are we annoyed by those who seem just a little bit too amped up and excited? Like, what are you doing? Like, just get out of my way. I'm just trying to get to my stop, And so we take this into our conscious awareness today about this idea. When I think of this teaching, this philosophy, this idea called religious science and new thought and science of mind teaching by Ernest Holmes, I think of this incredible passion and energy that people like Ernest Holmes and those that came before him, Emma Curtis Hopkins and so many others, that must have had for what they discovered, this power of thought to change the world. I've mentioned before that sometimes I'm reading The Science of Mind and I get so excited about something that I've read, the way the sentence is structured and the insight that it has in it, that I kind of jump up out of my seat and I think, well, Ernest Holmes must have been a little bit of Pentecostal, because you can't write that and not run around the room a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And so when I came into, meeting, as we're going to talk today about passion and feeling, I grew up in this tradition, in this teaching, but when I met people like our dear friend, the late Bishop Carlton Pearson, and D.E. Polk, and Bishop Yvette Flunder, and others, and I said, wait a second, there's some people who know this consciousness stuff, and they know how to hoop, and they know the B3 organ, and they can run, and they can shout, and they can hang on. This is about to change everything right here. This is like, I opened my eyes. I was like with the popcorn. I'm like, tell me more. Like, 'cause I had never seen this before. Right? So this powerful thing that we have inherited through the ages, that has been passed down through the Vedic wisdom and through the Greek philosophers and through religious tradition, this kind of what I call sometimes lightning in a bottle. Ernest Holmes was able to, in his time, not because he created it, but because he was able to synthesize and articulate it in a way that spoke to the 20th century, to the modern world at that time. A magical way in his ability to say it plainly for all to hear. And much in the way that contemporary authors have done for us today, people like Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra and others who've been able to take something and so profoundly something so profound and say it in a way that we can grasp it. So taking this idea that there is a living intelligence in which we are immersed and that we are both the inlet and the outlet of its purpose and its power, if we just sit with that for a minute, that there's an infinite intelligence and we are both its inlet and outlet, and we sit at the intersection of that space. A simple concept, but it opens us up to immense possibility. That we have this choice, right? That we can spend all of our time lamenting and worrying about our past or our failures or our doubts or our fears or our false sense of inadequacy. Or we can harness the wind of the universe that is always blowing at our back and use it to push ourselves forward into something new, into new possibilities, into new life, into new creation. That we are created with that free will and that we have that choice. That we have come here for a purpose. And that the universe, we often say, as I said last week, the phrase from Ernest Holmes, that there's a creative intelligence in the universe greater than you are and you can use it. But here's the thing. It can use us. And it is using us. There's a power of intelligence in the universe greater than we are, and it wants to use you. It wants you to be its outlet. Yes, you can use it, meaning you have choice. You can open yourself up to it through your spiritual practice, your meditation, your discernment, your own conscious awareness and growth, and that is a thing that is left for you to do or to not do. But it also wants to use you. You, your presence, your physical manifestation in this incarnation is demonstration that it has a plan. It has an idea. It has an activity. It has an infinite sense of potential and possibility that wants to move through something that it can only do through you. That is influenced and colored by your experience and your upbringing and your parents and your circumstance and condition and all of those things, that there's, in fact, nothing out of place in the universe because it is a universe of purpose and passion, and therefore it has placed you right where it needs. And you say, yeah, but what about all these things that happen? Yeah, but what about all that? And I got all these knocks against me. And yeah, no. You can shift all of that in an instant to be the energy and the fuel which allows you to find and articulate your voice that will say something in a way that nobody else has ever heard before. Everything that Ernest Holmes wrote already existed in the realm of knowledge in the universe. But he was able to say it in a way that captured a new audience and captured new ears. And people said, wow, this is magnificent, right? And so it is with you, that there is something within you that is a universal truth, but it wants to move through you in such a way. If you can hear this today, you'll understand what Ernest Holmes says, he says, you exist at that divine feeling, that the divine feeling, the fire, the imagination, and creativity may be expressed through you. You exist such that divine feeling, fire, imagination, and creativity can be expressed through you. No one else can do this in the way that you can. No one else can give the gift and the light and the love and the passion, the divine purpose that you can. The universe is an intelligent design, and you are part of it. Right? The universe is one of intelligent design, and you are a part of it. If that in any way moves and stirs something within your soul, then I invite you to pause and consider the question, as I've asked here many times before, what are you going to do about it? Right? It's like, I mean, you can sit back and wonder and sit back and be in awe, like, wow, it is an immense and creative and intelligent universe, and I am part of its intelligent design. Okay, wow, that's cool. I got the next thing to do. Right? Go off and do your next thing. Well, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to harness that energy? How are you going to allow that to inform? Because unfortunately, as we sit here today, humanity has manifested countless ways to divide and conquer and create suffering amongst each other and amongst ourselves. And so the question becomes, as we consider this, what calls to our soul in the landscape that we see? What gets our attention? What is our passion? And where is our heartbeat at? What moves us at a deep level? And can our talents and energies and commitments be put to use to make a difference? And as you contemplate these ideas, and with it the realization that the power of the universe moves through our words and our actions, we begin to see that, like everything around you, you are here on purpose and in purpose and with purpose. We saw today the purpose. You don't do 60 years of creative arts ministry that, I've said this before, but when Pastor Clarice started that, I mean, she raised her hand when that ministry was going, and she said, now, wait a second, what about the creative arts? Wait a second, what about dance? Wait a second, what about, what do you call it, with the color guard and the flags and, all of that? Like, what about all of that creativity? That's God too, which came at a bold time in her particular tradition and expression, where they were saying, no, God was this, and then all of this secular stuff, stay away from that. And she was the bridge. She said, wait just a second. There's God. Divinity is in that music. Divinity is in that form of dance. Divinity is in that creativity over there. Let's not just go out and enjoy it at the theater and enjoy it wherever it is, and then come here and hear messages that say that we should avoid the secular, dangerous world and only be married to this divine idea, when in fact we're all listening to that music and going to those plays and watching those things. She said, let's just build the bridge and put it right here on this stage so that they can all see how beautiful and how godly it is. Nobody else had done that before she did it, right? Nobody. That deserves a hand clap if you haven't picked it up. Right? I was downtown yesterday at the new Hilton, I call it the cigarette box. The one next to Mercedes-Benz Stadium is brand new. It's beautiful, but to me, it's just a big rectangle square thing sticking up next to Mercedes-Benz. So it looks like just a pack of cigarettes there to me. No, I'm not a smoker, but that's just what it reminds me of. But inside were people from India. There was a big youth conference going on, beautiful gowns and dresses and outfits and all of that creativity happening. Ballroom dancing was occurring. Our own Ian Falker was there dancing and moving and doing his thing, and it was beautiful to see all the creativity. And you ever go to visit a hotel, maybe you're on a trip or something, and there's a conference that you're not a part of that's there, right? And then you get this insight and you're like, oh, there's like a whole world of this. Right? Like, there's a whole group of people, like, this is what they do, right? And it's new to you. It's like, I've lived my whole life and not known that there's a group of people and this is what they do. And they look forward to this and this is their thing. And it's beautiful and it's wonderful, and the talent and the creativity that it takes to step into that and to make that a beautiful thing. And so all of this leads to us, each one of us finding that thing, that fuel, that passion, that fire, because when we talk about the power of affirmative prayer and the power to shift and change consciousness, which changed the world, Ernest Holmes reminds us that our prayers should be filled with conviction, with warmth, with color, and imagination. And the creative power responds to feeling more quickly than to mental attitude. Now that's really, really important to understand there, right there. And the creative power of the universe, what we call the law of mind, the law of the mind of God, responds to feeling more quickly than mental attitude. In other words, you can have the right mental attitude about something. You can have the right mental attitude about your prosperity, about your health, about your well-being, about your relationships, about your job, about your career, about what you want, what the vision for your life. But if you don't have the feeling, if you lack the passion and the fire for it, the universe is saying, no, you're saying the right words, you're putting all the right words in the affirmative prayer, but I don't feel it. But the moment as Penelope was just moved here on the stage, doing something, a song she does every week, but suddenly in something in that moment, it moved her. Which is, again, why I was so taken when I first brought our spiritual leader at the time, Dr. Ken Gordon, to a conference. It was Bishop Flunder's conference in Las Vegas, and it happened to be the night it was in Las Vegas. Big New Thought Pentecostal conference. It was, quite something. And it was the night they were honoring Edwin Hawkins, and it was a big choir and a big thing going on, and Dr. Ken kept asking me all kinds of questions, like, what are you bringing me to, and as I was building these bridges and strategic alliances, and I said, I'll walk you through it. I'm going to be there. I was already there for a few days, and so he calls me. He says, okay, I'm at the airport. I said, all right, well, it's the evening service, and everybody's very calm, and Edwin Hawkins is speaking, and just come in, you find me, I'm sitting up front, and everything, no big deal. And by the time the taxi gets him from the airport to the hotel, the Holy Ghost had broken out, and people were laying on the floor and literally running around the room, and the B3 was going. And so I said, well, let me come to the lobby and get you, because so then I'm walking him in. I'm like, well, things have shifted just a little bit, right? And there's a feeling happening. Something is moving and shifting, and as that continued to unfold that evening, and I got to watch him kind of watch it and experience it, and the prayers were happening, and the healing was taking place, and at one point, as some of the falling out was taking place, I leaned over and I said, you see, Dr. Ken, I said, they believe in the 5 steps of prayer too, but they take that release step really seriously, right? And I meant it, right? Because it was like, what, Thanksgiving and all the praise and hallelujahs, and then release it. Like, let it go until it's completely, every cell of your body has released the doubt and the fear and the shame or the not enoughness or the whatever, until your entire somatic being has had a whole brand new experience. And you are, in fact, made new in that moment, right? Ernest Holmes talked about that. He said, you got to have the feeling in it. You got to have the fire in the belly. You've got to have that deep inner conviction that wells up like fire shut up in your bones. You got to have that clarity of purpose that drives our actions forward for a specific goal and vision, whatever it is that we want to have. And when we have that fire in the belly, that Holy Ghost experience, then we're headed on a clear path of direction that we cannot be distracted or deterred from, because suddenly there's a deeper knowing that's happening. When we have that insight, and then we have that embodied feeling that has ripped through every cell of our body and made us new, then suddenly we can walk into the world transformed to say, no, I know what I'm talking about. I know my good's on the way. I know my prosperity, my wholeness, my well-being. I know that this thing's going to shift. I know that this circumstance can't hold me down. I know what I'm talking about, right? Because there's something inside of you that's burning like a fire that tells you that you know what it is you're talking about. You understand what I'm saying here today? And so, well... And so my book is a product of that process, I just want to say. Because, a lot of people have asked me, well, what, your bio says you had this awakening experience at age 13, and what was that? And I've been describing a lot. I was just last week in a class online for the Johnny Coleman Institute on social gospel, and so we talked about the book, and the book was supposed to, be published a few months ago. It was supposed to be in time for it to be the textbook for the course, but instead I was just a guest for it. But I've been talking about and reliving, through questions, through interviews and conversations, been having with people about this, and reliving all this stuff. And I realized that, the conviction that I had when I was 13, 14 years old came because I put the law to the test. I said, I don't want to continue to live in this dynamic and circumstance. It's not good for my family. It's not good for me. It's not good for my brother. It's not good for any of us. And I go to this church on Sundays, and I know that there's a better world, and I've been to teen camps, and I've seen and been exposed to, and yet I have to come back to this thing and this dynamic, and it was about the neighborhood and drugs and gangs and all the different things that were going on. And so I just prayed a prayer of shifting, of transformation. And it was about changing anything on the external, but it was about, Spirit, let this shift, because I know there's something else that's possible. And within weeks of saying that prayer, my mother's company had offered to move her from Phoenix to Albuquerque, pay for everything. We put the house on the market, we sold the house, boom, we packed up our things, we were gone. And the economic conditions between those two cities put her in, it was the same job, it was the same pay, but the economic conditions of the city shifted everything, right? And we were still middle class, single mother with 2 kids, but it shifted a dynamic, and I got to witness and see that, and I said, this is the law at work, right? God had something to do with this. And I asked myself, well, what can I do? Because I now know that this thing works, this thing that we're talking about. I know that it works. I know that it's real. What can I do to live in gratitude for that? And the response was simple. I remember the day that it came. And the response said, the question was something like, what can I give? What can I, how can I show up? And Spirit said, give me everything. Give me everything. Everything you've got. Because anything less than that won't be adequate. And so from that day I lived, and it wasn't about any sense of indebtedness, but it was about a sense of overwhelming that the only thing I could do was to live my life from a place of pouring myself back into the teaching that had saved my life. And so this book is, 20, maybe 30 years in the making of that process, and it was a conviction that, I need to do this. I'm thrilled that people are buying it. I hope you like it. There's theology, and it's very academic at times, and it's, I find myself making a lot of excuses for it because everybody told me, oh no, you need to write that secular book that will, be the spiritual awakening that everybody, like all that stuff. And it was like, no, I need to do this. And I know it's not for everybody, and it's, talking about some constructs and structures, and now that it's out and I got it in my hands, I really don't care. Right? I'm at a place where it's like, well, I don't care if other people don't like it or not, because it's what I needed to say. And so now I've said it, so now when people ask me, I can just say, well, I said it, go get it, if it's relevant. But I hope it's helpful to the movement. I hope it's helpful to our whole movement. And I talk about this idea of coming from that fire place, coming from that place of passion, knowing why you are here. And I want to share that, but I'll share it in just, I'll share that first. So for the first time, quote myself on page 10. So, sorry, I just had to take that in for a second. So why are you here? I said, I am here to honor a movement grounded in the legacy of our founders' deep roots of consciousness and mystical understanding of universal truths. I am here to speak the prophetic truth of oneness into a divided world that is still in the grips of racism and white supremacy, in hopes that the clarion call of our divine nature will shake humanity awake. I am here to affirm our divine potential within all humanity, knowing that our potential is rooted in our responsibility. I am here to awaken humanity to its magnificence that lives beyond division, yet does not hide from protecting and defending the most vulnerable among us. I am here to share a generous love ethic that stands in solidarity with those on the margins without apology. I'm here to participate fully in building a world that works for everyone through a conscious recognition that the means and ways in which current structures do not work for many are upheld by the consciousness behind them and therefore must be dismantled through the application of the tools of conscious transformation. I am here to walk in radical honesty that is gritty, raw, spiritual work that requires shedding the protections of privilege and building authentic relationships with those in the trenches. I believe New Thought provides a powerful, liberative witness to the power within each one of us to radically change the world through personal and collective awakening. I believe that we are created in God's image, and therefore, we are the vehicles through which God's wholeness is revealed. The moment we accept this is the moment we must also accept responsibility for any place in the world where wholeness is not being revealed. I believe oneness without responsibility is cheap privilege, because the moment you claim the power of the principle of oneness is the moment you can no longer afford to separate yourself from the pain of the world, because that's how oneness works. And I believe that the banknote of oneness is cashed in acts of justice. And so that's the fire and the passion, and I want everybody to find their own version of that. And when I was in the class last week for Johnny Coleman Institute, so one of the students asked me, they said, well, you're talking about racism and white supremacy and the structures of powers and all of these things, and we can't really change all of that. We can only really change ourselves and our own individual consciousness. So, why bother trying? You're talking about all this big stuff. Why bother trying to even address all of that when we know that all we can do is our own work? And I thought, this is a good question. And it's a question that I've lived with throughout my life in this teaching. And a couple of answers came forward. And I thought the first one was, well, first of all, with that attitude, certainly nothing can change, right? That the idea that I can't do anything will lead to nothing, right? Which is the same principle true in our own individual lives. If we're facing our own fears or doubt or insecurity or financial struggles or relationship struggles or whatever it is, and our thought is, well, I can't do nothing, then you can't, right? But if we face those things and we say, there's a power within me that can, there's a power within me greater than I am, there's a power within me that is wholeness, and the whole premise of our faith is that we are the people who understand what consciousness is and how it works, right? It's the whole premise of New Thought. The whole premise of New Thought is, as a philosophy in the world, is that we as a group of people understand what consciousness is and how it works. And if that's true, and if at the same time what is also true is that all the isms of the world, all the structures of the world, all the ways in which the world is created, both individually in our individual lives and also our collective experience, are all structures of consciousness. Are you getting it? Right? If everything is framed out of structures of consciousness, and there's a group of people over here who say, we understand what consciousness is and how consciousness works, and the group over here is struggling with the structures and the way things are and the powers and the principalities and the da-da-da and the way it's always been, and women can't do this and men and blah-blah-blah. And there's legislation and discrimination and wars and disenfranchisement, and all of it is just thought forms. All of it is just ideas. All of it's just byproducts of consciousness. Who are you going to call? How about the people who know what consciousness is and how it works? Who else would you call? But every time the world struggles in the dynamics of the way in which it's structured, we call the same people who created the structures. We call the same people who made it that way, and they made it that way for their own benefit, for their own protection of their own identities and their own powers and privileges and all of those different things. Why don't we call the people who say, we actually know what consciousness is and how it works? In other words, what I'm trying to say is changing the world through changing our thoughts and our thinking and the story that we have about the world is, as a philosophy, our superpower. It's our superpower. Nobody else has it because everybody else is playing the game of us and them and right and wrong and this and that and wrapped into the structures of their own creation. And we're the ones that can say, well, we know what's happening there. That is a construct of consciousness, and it can change like this, because that's how consciousness works, right? Audre Lorde said it this way. No, she didn't say that. Understanding the laws of consciousness is our superpower. Audre Lorde said this: to refuse to participate in the shaping of our future is to give it up. Do not be misled into passivity, either by false security, they're not talking about me, or by despair, that there's nothing that we can do. Each of us must find our work and do it. To refuse to participate in shaping our future is to give it up. We are the ones who understand how consciousness works and how to use it. And so when it comes to the question, well, what could we possibly do? It's the same answer Spirit gave me when I said, what could I possibly do to be in right relationship with this idea and awareness that this thing works? Everything. You can do everything. You can do anything. We can create the world in any way that we want. A world that's more loving and beautiful and peaceful and just and equitable and flowing and generative and creative and filled with arts and music and love and passion and all of those things. We are the ones who can do it. And that's what I've dedicated my life to teaching. And so here for today, as we wrap this up, principles for living in this passion and purpose today. 1, act on your passion. Be bold. Don't worry about consistency. Ralph Waldo Emerson was famous for saying a lot of things, but one of them, he said, a foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds, right? The hobgoblin of little minds. We don't have a little mind, we have a big mind. And so we don't worry about it. Act on your passion. And if it changes tomorrow, then act on that one. And if it changes the next week, then act on that one. Don't worry about it because you're cultivating the space for passion to move through you. And instead of being critical and discerning or critical about the passions that you have, instead be discerning about what drains your energy. Right? Be discerning about your time. Be discerning about the obligations of things that take you away from your passion. Begin to be discerning, not from a critical self-criticism, but about all the other obligations that are distracting you, right? Listen with the inner wisdom. Allow your inner wisdom to guide you. Listen to what's unfolding in each moment, in each passion, in each idea. And then finally, surrender and trust. Learn to trust the process. With these things, we can begin to live a more passionate life. Let me call the practitioners forward to pray with us today. Thank you. Our prayer practitioners are always available to you, and you can make an appointment with them at any time, and they're available after the service for one-on-one prayer. Just seek them out here in the sanctuary. We're so grateful for them lending their consciousness to this moment as we extend it out to everybody watching online and on YouTube. There are practitioners in our virtual space and online community as well. You can reach out to them. We are surrounded by an infinite intelligence that knows exactly what to do with our thoughts, our passions, our heart's desire, that there is within the intelligence of the universe itself, within the nature of the Christ, the nature of God presence, the nature of the unlimited unfolding consciousness of the universe itself. There's a divine idea called you, and a divine idea called this moment, and a divine idea called your life, and a divine idea called the world condition as it is right now. And there's a divine idea that wants to burst forth in your heart, in your mind, in your energy, in your being. All you got to do is say yes. Be open to it. Allow all the thoughts and ideas and obstructions of doubt and self-criticism fall away so that you're completely open and available to this idea, this divine idea that wants to come forward in this moment. It's Spirit calling you home. I know who you are. And I have, in this moment, an assignment for you. And it's to love and to show up and to be in this place at this time so that my light, that the universal light of the presence of God may shine forward and shine forth into this space, into the space where you are, not somebody else's space, but the space where you are, right where you find yourself, on purpose, in purpose. When we begin to live every day from the cultivation of that passion and idea, then everywhere we go is divine right action. Everything that's unfolding is divine right action. Everything in every moment is the purpose and the power of the universe at our fingertips. And the world can be made new. Bridges can be built where there were once divides. Wars can cease, and hunger and famine can cease, and exchange of goods and food and water and shelter and justice and structures of sustainability can all be put in place because the divine says, I love all of it. You are all my children. You belong. This is what I want. And you are the vehicles through which it's going to happen. Just say yes and let it happen. Just say yes and let it happen. Just say yes and let it happen. So I'm grateful today for the ways in which we are surrendering into this moment and allowing the divine to have its way as our life, as peace and prosperity and wholeness and well-being at every level of our individual experience, and now as our collective experience, because God would have it no other way. For this and more, I'm truly grateful and thankful. I release these words, surrendering it into the law, knowing that they come back pressed down and overflowing as my experience and your experience and the world's experience. And I release it. And so it is. And so we are. Peace and blessings. Thank you so much. Thank you again to our prayer practitioners. And now is our time for our tithes and offering. And I'm so grateful and want to remind us as we enter the summer months to not let the summer slag, summer slump get to SLCA, to our experience here, that our experience continues to be one of boisterous prosperity and flow and abundance, because whether we're attending or not, I know we all have summer plans and travel and various things that we're doing, but that this center is supported by our monthly tithes and offerings, by our ongoing giving. If you have cash or check today, we have our containers by the doors. You can participate with that at any moment. We have it all also online at your fingertips on your phone, text to give, QR code, etc. And so whatever form it takes for you today, I invite you again to, as you know, we've been in a season of asking for kind of leveling up so that we can support this place as we go into the summer months. It's very important that we lean in where we can, financially and otherwise. And so I'm so grateful for all of the financial good that is flowing to us right now. I know that there is no lack of limitation in the divine, and that the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta is a divine idea in the mind of God, and therefore has all that it needs to provide for all of its needs and to create a ministry that moves forward and expresses abundantly. So let's hold our gifts in our hands as we bless them today with these words. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow, and all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is, and so we are. Peace and blessings.
So will you all stand with me, and we'll close with our closing song. And also I want to invite you to join us for food and fellowship. It's so good to be with you this afternoon.